Welcome to Snack Chat. That's Mark.
And that's Troy. What is Snack Chat? It's a multi-episode series where we handpick people throughout the entire IBM landscape and try to mash them up into interesting conversations.
It's a casual approach, like we're sitting in a coffee shop or in the lunchroom, and we want to get people a little off guard, a little comfortable, and take a peek into some areas and some conversations that you don't normally get every day.
For this Snack Chat, we've chosen to have a cup of coffee with Alarice Lonergan, who leads our financial services team in the Americas, and Saif Rivers, who leads our retail industry in the Americas.
Please let us know your thoughts on these snack-sized conversations, and if you have any thoughts on pairings of people, products, or services that can help where we explore next. Let's have some fun.
So just to shade this in a little bit more, Seth, talk a little bit about some of the clients you're currently working with and the landscape of clients, and then Alarice, I'll bug you to do the same. Just shade in kind of your industry and then some of the common clients that you work with regularly.
Yeah, I mean, we're deeply fortunate to be working with many of the largest US retailers. And it's great because we've got a real portfolio of clients out there. And I think, we all know that retail today is a challenging place to be. COVID has really impacted our clients and their business. And so, I describe it as a tale of two cities. On one hand, you've got those essential retailers that are absolutely thriving. They've never been busier. Every day is the next busiest day they've ever had. They can't figure out how to get enough inventory into their stores. They can't figure out how to get enough people into their stores or into their distribution centers to basically run the operations of their business. And then you've got the other side of the coin, which are those retailers that ultimately, weren't in that essential retail place, maybe didn't have their digital retail capability as well built out as they could. Mm-hmm. And they're really struggling to survive. Their brick and mortar stores have been shut down. They've been struggling to bring people into work and ultimately struggling to get the consumers in through the doors. And so, they really are in a fight for survival. And so I'm thankful that we're able to see, let's say, both parts of this reality. Those that are doing very, very well, and those that are having to pivot in order to retain their lifeblood. The beauty of that, I think, for us as IBM and for us as individuals, is we get to infuse that creativity on both sides. So how do we help people do more efficiently, faster, better, harder? Or B, how do we help people really reinvent what they're doing and make themselves more relevant for today's marketplace? Alarice?
Yeah. So for financial services, as many of you know, I cut across banking. We service insurance, both life and annuities, as well as property and casualty, and the financial market. So as soon as COVID hit for us this year, all of the banks were scrambling really quickly around how do we help meet the need of the customers, of the government, without a lot of guidance, really. So what we saw right at the beginning was all this enormous pivot to two things. One, how to maintain the workforce in a virtual way, which a lot of them weren't set up to do. I mean, banking is highly regulated, and it's very scary, right, to do something completely different from that perspective. They're used to working, in offices, in branches, and on the insurance side, the same thing, right? So there was that pivot of the new way of working, and that actually handled quite well, believe it or not. I think that, there was a bit of learning along the way, and a lot of times we were working jointly with our banking and insurance clients to help them through that transition. We saw the big focus towards how do they help the government as well as the individuals through, the funding, the PPP programs. So that was the major shift. So what we saw is a lot of people just diverting to solve that problem. And we are right there to help them through that, especially when you're dealing with uncertainty, right? It's one of those things where people want the trust, they want security, they want transparency. And banks and insurance companies historically have had challenges when it comes to establishing that trust and transparency. So it was really paramount for them to establish that, make sure everyone knew that things were secure, that they would be able to get funds to them quickly. So that's one area. And then we saw a lot of the digital transformation with some of the largest, banks and insurers that we work with. And we're working with all the Fortune 500 companies. And they're pivoting towards real digital transformation. So it was essential. Like if you think for the banking industry, nobody's going into a branch. They're not even going through the drive-through. So if you aren't digitally enabled to service your customers in terms of account opening and end-to-end servicing, that's a problem, right? So you saw inherently the push towards that from a banking side. Same on the insurance side. There are some different insurers that we work with that really have been an agent model where you go and speak to your individual agent, or you call up that individual agent, you see that individual agent. So if you aren't set up to be able to service that digitally, or have even a simple thing as a general 800 number that people could get servicing in a different way, you're totally changing the way that people are interacting. There's that one-to-one interaction in insurance that now you've disintermediated in a way. So it's really caused that shift across both banking and insurance from my perspective. The other thing that I think that's coming about that we're seeing, which is a little reminiscent of the 2007 to 2009 days, is people are either going to survive and thrive, or they're going to be merged and acquired in some way. So I would anticipate we'll see some of that happening over the course of the next 2 years. A number of those that are surviving and thriving. And in some cases, probably through some of the acquisitions to meet some of their capabilities and get some more digital acceleration.